Oh boy, we are in for quite a treat for today's episode. Finally, at long last, I will be covering the character that rivals the kings of Ragdoll in many people's eyes, Teletubbies, and in the Night Garden, everyone's favorite Birmingham hero, Brum. After seeing Jamie Davison's Spotlight episode on him, I really wanted to cover this guy and saw his show on this channel in some capacity ever since I rewatched the show in years. And now, I finally get to do it for you guys. Brum is just one of those BBC shows that people sleep on most of the time, and I can see why. Even if there's no actual dialogue from the humans and it's only the narrator. But it's still charming. So, let's waste no time and see what the Birmingham star himself has in store for today's installment. Brum's personality, as depicted in the TV series, is generally seen as positive and friendly. He is a sweet, yellow car who loves making friends and hates seeing anyone unhappy. He's outgoing and empathetic, feeling things deeply. While he doesn't always grab complex ideas and could easily get confused or frightened, he is always brave and stands up for his friends when they're in need. In the show, he helps to save the day by chasing after criminals stealing stuff or things like stopping a dog from getting away or recapturing runaway objects. Brum is able to drive around on his own and can express himself in a number of ways, including opening and closing his doors and bonnet, bobbing his suspension, flashing and swiveling his headlamps, rotating his starting crank, extending his trafficators, and using his horn. He opens his doors when he's happy and flaps his bonnet up when he's angry. Brum is based on a late 1920s Austin 7 Chummy, a once popular British motor car. A very fitting basis for this guy, actually. Now, when it comes to voice actors for this guy, well, like Destiny in the previous series, we don't really have any sort of VA for him. Of course, Jamie is voicing him in my upcoming series, but for the official show, no sign of an official voice for Brum anywhere. The closest we get really is Toya Wilcox, who, funnily enough, did the voiceover for Teletubbies, but that's a story for another time. But Toya doesn't really count as one, being honest, as she only really played him as well as being the narrator. Kinda like the model series of Thomas where the narrator voices everyone, except in a different scenario. But I will say that Jamie does a splendid job at bringing Brum to life from what I've heard. And I hope you guys will enjoy his voice when my series comes around. If it gets off the ground, that is. Now, let's be real here. Out of all of the characters that I have either covered in the previous iteration or in this one, this was by far the toughest one I have done so far. Simply because I have very little experience with this show than I do with shows like Teletubbies. Hell, I have more experience with H2O than I do with Brum. But that's another video. I only really watched a handful of episodes either on YouTube and / all the DVDs I own, so I really had to go off of those, like I did with Sonic. And in my opinion, Brum's best episode, like many others in the past, had to be a bit biased. So I had to go with Brum and the Golf Buggy as my #1 pick. Yes, I know, anything with golf in it reminds me of Wii Sports and Wii Sports Resort. But this is a really funny episode. And, being honest, stealing those trophies that guy had was a bit of a low play for those two who stole them. Because trophies, from my experience, do cost a bit of money for those who put in the effort to win them. Trust me, I've won trophies before and I know how valuable they are. And you know what? I'm going to give Wheels an honorable mention here. Now I know Jamie has spotlighted this episode in his video on Brum, but I can't help but do the same here. This is actually the only episode from the first 2 seasons that I have actually seen. And man, what a watch. Brum takes a boy with no legs around a racetrack, then he gets to race with him, and then he gets to actually race with others. What a wholesome episode. And in terms of Brum's weakest points in the series, well, like I said, I have very minimal experience with Brum. So, I guess it's smooth sailing once again. You know, given how minimal I know about Brum, I have to admit that I really enjoyed the show for what it is. Granted, it may not have actual dialogue from the humans, and the only thing of dialogue in this show is from the narrator, but I still really love Brum, and from the episodes I've seen, he's a cool guy. So, when it comes to ragdoll stuff, he's not my personal favourite. That honor clearly goes to the Teletubbies for obvious reasons. But Brum is a close second. Birmingham just wouldn't be the same without our one and only Brum. He truly gets things done. And that brings another character highlight reel part 2 episode to a close. What an episode, man. Brum is a character that I didn't really think I'd have that much to say. But here we are now. Finally covered him and got him out of the way with. In terms of the next episode for this second iteration, we will be rounding off the Cars characters in style. With the one and only Sally. A character that I'm kind of surprised that I didn't throw into the first iteration. But here we are about to cover her for tomorrow's episode. But if you guys want to stay tuned for that, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications to stay up to date and to not miss out on the newest content. Until next time, bye guys.